Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Lotus, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And today we are going to be talking about the Cryptids of Texas as part of our ongoing series, Cryptids Across America, where we explore cryptids in each state. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody, as always, that we have a group over at Facebook, and it's called the Black Lotus Discussion Group, and I will certainly drop a link for that in the description. Definitely, if you're into these topics, check us out over there. We got a great bunch of people there, and it's not a large group. We only have like, I think, 265 members,
Something like that.
Yeah. But the nice thing about it is that everybody gets along there. I mean, we don't have fools in there, So, and we have some great discussions. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to us. We love to see the thumbs up. And finally, I want to mention that we have a brand new podcast over at Podbean and also at iHeartRadio, and it's called the Paranormal News Network. And what we do is we bring you the latest in paranormal news, everything that's going on around the world. And, with UFOs being the hot topics that they are right now, there's always something in the news there. So anyway, let's get into this. Ralph, have you ever been to Texas?
No, I haven't. I've been to the airport flying through, but no, I've actually never been to Texas.
I've never been there for an extended period of time. I've driven through it multiple times, and as I always say, it's about as exciting as driving on the moon, going through the Texas on the 10 freeway. It seems like it takes forever, But my wife lived in Texas before we got together, and she lived in Seguin, Texas, which is just north of San Antonio.
Okay.
So, but anyway, that leads me into my question about the first one that you're going to do, and that is the Donkey Lady of San Antonio.
Yeah, the Donkey Lady of San Antonio. Actually, she's like urban legend, ghost story, and cryptozoology all mixed together.
Okay.
There's a lot of different versions of the story. The basis is that she was trapped in a house fire with her husband had started, or some rich kid had started. They're not sure. There's so many different origins to the story, they're not sure where it goes. So anyhow, supposedly she was trying to save a donkey from the barn and got horribly disfigured. I mean, to the point where her fingers were melting to the stubs, and her face was all deformed and kind of long, looking like a donkey's. Well, she likes to leap from trees onto oncoming cars and leaves hoof prints on the hood of the car.
Okay.
And supposedly she does this over the certain bridge. Now, one of the stories says that she was actually pushed over by the bridge by these rich kids who were hassled by her donkey, so that they pushed her over the bridge and where she drowned.
Oh.
But other stories have her being caught in the fire and dying, and other stories have her being half goat and half donkey, and half woman.
Okay.
That's why thus leaving the hoof prints on the roofs.
I see.
Yeah. So I don't know. We don't. With all the different stories, it was hard to decide what actually was going on with her. But
yeah. And there is in Houston. There's the legend of the Houston Batman, and this is a typical flying cryptid, kind of like Mothman, that kind of thing. But there was only one accounted sighting, and that took place at like 2:30 a.m. on June 18th of 1953. And some people were hanging out with their neighbors on their porch, and at like 2:30 in the morning. I'm assuming they were drinking it up, But Hilda Walker, who was a 23-year-old housewife, and her two neighbors were sitting on the front porch, and so they suddenly noticed a large shadow moving across the lawn. And she said, when you see it, you freeze in your tracks and you just can't move. And but here's the thing about the Houston Batman is that it's not unique. There have been sightings all over Texas and northern Mexico with these flying cryptids,
right?
And these things with these big leathery wings. There is a professional cryptozoologist by the name of Ken Gerard, I can't speak, who is finishing a book on the subject, and he's tracked down similar accounts all over Texas. And he said, but what it is we're describing is essentially a biological impossibility. He said, if there were a bat as tall as a man, his wingspan would have to be 18 feet or more from wingtip to wingtip. It's not something that you would easily mistake for anything else.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I want to talk about the Lake Worth monster next. This was sighted in the 60s, the late 60s. Again, there's conflicting descriptions, but most of them say it's about the size of a man, but bears half goat-like features such as horns and white fur. According to the reports, it's a very aggressive and has ability to leap from trees onto the passing cars also. I don't know what it is, but cryptids there like to leap onto cars.
Yeah. Even Mothman does that.
Right.
Yeah, so weird.
It's actually, there's a group of people that actually ran into one once, or ran into it once, and it actually picked up a tire from an automobile and hurled it at him like it was a frisbee.
Oh, really?
So it's obviously very strong. What's kind of cool about this is a very known cryptid, obviously, because back in since 2009, on the 40th anniversary of the sightings, the Fort Worth Nature Center and Refuge has held a Lake Worth Monster Bash every October now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, honoring him.
There's several places that do that kind of thing. They do celebrations about the cryptids, as an annual thing,
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the Bear King creature. We're talking about bears. This appears in Marble Falls and was reported by the Washington Bee. Describes it about a hairy, human-like creature, kind of like a Bigfoot-associated type creature, they're thinking. Supposedly, Rami Orland was held captive and beat by the beast. When the beast fell asleep, she promptly escaped and returned to town to tell the people about what happened to her. Mm-hmm. Many cryptozoologists, just like I said, think it's a Bigfoot type creature or some unknown species of the great ape. What I think is kind of funny is now that they have a beer company now. They're called the Bear King Brewing Company.
Oh, really?
Named after it, yeah. And speaking of bears,
yeah. This is more of a legend than typical sightings, where they've been reported, although it has had a few reports. But what I'm talking about is the Beast of Bear Creek. And what that is, it's a werewolf story. And it was apparently widely believed among the early settlers of Kimball County that an old Native American shaman, who was among the last of the survivors of his tribe, had the ability to change from his normal human form into that of a large wolf. The old medicine man, it is said, would seek revenge on the white men who had decimated his tribe by transforming into a wolf persona and roaming the countryside at night, killing everything from livestock to unfortunate settlers outside after dark. So, like I said, this is more of a legend, because, tales of shape-shifting creatures, permeate folklore and many Native American tribes. But what makes this particular one unusual is that many of the white settlers of Kimball County believed this story to be true, And but there's not many sightings there anymore because Clio, which is the town where this happened, is pretty much a ghost town now. The only thing left is, let me show you a picture here. It's there's a general store there.
Oh.
Yeah, and I guess across the street from it, there's what is assumed to be the community center, because there's a sign that says Clio Community Center there. So, but yeah, so there's not much there anymore, and people don't really hang out there anymore. So there's not really any sightings. Yeah. But there are sightings that of creatures that are kind of out of place in that area, and like black panthers, and there's of course the chupacabra. There's sightings of that,
and Bigfoot, of course.
And Bigfoot, I mean,
I don't know if there are any states that don't get Bigfoot sightings.
Right, I mean, so we don't really concentrate on Bigfoot so much with these Cryptids Across America, because everybody has a Bigfoot story pretty much. I think I read that the only state in the U.S. that doesn't have a Bigfoot story is Hawaii, which makes sense, I guess. But yeah, so chupacabras.
What about
them? I think that they possibly could exist. I don't think that they're anything abnormal, though. I think that they are probably just coyotes with mange.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say.
Yeah. I remember hearing a story about a woman in Texas who claimed to have killed one, and she stuffed it. And I saw the picture of the thing, and it just looked like a deformed coyote.
Yeah. So I have to agree. If they do exist, they're just a form of canine, I believe.
I believe so, and they're probably pretty rare. I don't know if it would necessarily be a coyote with mange necessarily, or some sort of disease, but I think that they are a thing that just is fairly rare. Kind of a mutation.
I'll agree.
But anyway, what say we get out of here?
Sounds good.
All right. Folks, thanks a lot for watching. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep thinking and question everything.